Now, before Incarnate weapons, before Kuva weapons, Tenet weapons, and of course Coda weapons, we had other weapon sets, like the Wraith weapons, like the Stun Wraith and the Latron Wraith, but we also had the Mutalist weapons, right, the Quanta and the Mutalist Cernos. Now, when you rewind back to 2016, we had a fungal-infested bow added into the game that at that time wasn't very good.
It combines elements of a crit-based weapon, status area of effect weapon, and a dog shit-based weapon. And it does none of it right. Except for the shit part.
Now, 9 years later, and I realise I've been slacking, right? I've never covered this weapon, which I genuinely thought I feckin' did, but apparently I didn't. Now, fast forward to 2025, and it's easily one of the most fun weapons in the game, but it's also incredibly powerful due to all of the mods and, of course, the arcanes that have been added into Warframe over the last decade. Arcanes like Longbow Sharpshot, which is a multiplicative arcane, which will give you 300% bonus damage on your next shot whenever you land a headshot. Not when you get a kill, but just by landing a headshot. And since this is a multi-shot bow, you're going to be doing that quite a lot, so it definitely benefits bringing this, which makes it incredibly powerful. But then again, what isn't, right? The power creep is real. Also, according to the Warframe wiki, the weapon itself might be bugged with some of the mods. Throw a weapons platform, Warframe, into the mix, like Ember, like Gyre, like Rhino and others, and any frame that more or less has Roar or Zata's Whisper, or even Eclipse equipped, and you've got a really powerful bow that deals damage in the millions, but it also primes enemies so that your hound or your companion with Contagious Bond can nuke a feckin' room. But the most important factor with this weapon, for me at least, is it is feckin' fun. Now, the Mutalist Cernos is a separate Cernos bow that leaves spore clouds wherever the arrows impact, 10-second gas clouds in a 2.5 meter range. They also seriously obscure your vision, which might be part of the fun because half the time I have no fucking idea what the fuck I'm shooting at because enemies are hiding behind a fart curtain in front of me. But adding the mod Split Flights to the Mutalist Cernos gives you 400% multi-shot, which means way more arrows, way more gas clouds, but the big downside for some players will be that it turns an incredibly accurate bow into what is now effectively a shotgun, right, or a shot bow. But Split Flights stacks 4 times, but it only has a 2-second buff duration, which is where the coolest interaction with this bow comes into play. The gas clouds that it leaves on the ground will be dealing tick damage to any enemy that walks inside them, and each tick of damage will refresh the 2-second multi-shot buff from Split Flights. So you can keep that buff active indefinitely once you just keep shooting or you just keep snowballing from enemy to enemy. Now, the other cool interaction that is listed as a possible bug in the Warframe wiki is that Galvanized Aptitude, the mod, works as a multiplicative mod on the uncharged shots from the Cernos or Mutalist Cernos, whereas it is additive on the charged shots, which means you're better off just running around spamming quick shots over and over again and ignoring charge up, because you're going to be doing less damage with a fully charged shot compared to what you will be getting with a quick shot. Once you keep getting those headshots and that longbow arcane keeps proccing off, then just keep firing off those quick shots. This is it against level 230 Eximus heavy gunners in the simulacrum, and it is the simulacrum, so of course it's not an actual mission, but as you can see, once the arcane kicks in, it absolutely obliterates all of those Eximus units one by one. Like I said, it's less of a bow and more of a gas-powered shotgun. Now, on top of this, it is heavily impact-based, which means you can use the internal bleeding mod to give it additional slash damage on top of the viral or gas combo that you're more than likely going to be running. Viral as the element, and then of course gas with the clouds, and it's got a really low Riven disposition, so if you are lucky enough to get your hands on a good Riven for the Mutalist Cernos, then it is definitely going to be really worth it. Now, I found myself running this bow with my Ember weapons platform while also using it on my Chroma as well, and a few others of my weapons platform Warframes, but I definitely enjoy it with Ember and Chroma because giving it additional heat damage with Ember is really feckin' nice. Now, it's also nice to revisit some of our older weapons and check them back out, and don't stagnate just on Incarnate weapons or just on some of the Coda weapons because they are new, the Coda weapons, and fresh. It is nice to look back on some of our older weapons and fully check out and see how powerful these weapons are now that we've had all of the different mods added in over the years. And like I said, I'm pretty surprised I haven't made a video on this before, but then again, maybe I did and the music was claimed, which means I had to take the video down, which happened quite a lot in the early days of me doing videos. But in terms of builds, this is the build that I have on my Mutalist Cernos right now. Now, if you're a baby Tenno and you've picked up the Mutalist Cernos, you're not going to have all of the best mods in the game or the arcanes to make this weapon truly bloody shine, so you could mod it somewhere roughly along the lines of this. If you don't have hunter munitions or vigilante armaments, of course you're going to have to ignore those. Put a little bit of cold on there, which will turn it viral. It's going to be doing slash damage as well. If you can get hunter munitions or if you can get internal bleeding and put those on there, then of course you're going to have way better bleeds, but this would roughly be a kind of starter build. Then of course you would have the go-to build, which is along the lines of this. Now remember, galvanized aptitude is going to be multiplicative with longbow sharp shot as well, while also having a bane mod to also kind of triple dip, which means you're going to be doing viral damage. Your arrows will be leaving the gas clouds because of the split fights mod, which basically will be constantly stacked because the gas clouds, the ticks from the toxic procs within the gas clouds will of course be keeping this buff active all the time. Then of course you've got internal bleeding, which will be spreading bleeds as well because it is a heavily based impact build, so it is, and it is skewed towards impact more so than anything at the minute. And then in the middle of all that, you've got critical delay and of course vital sense as well for crit chance, crit damage. Remember, your actual charge up speed of your bow isn't going to matter because you're going to be just using the quick charge. You're not going to be charging it up, so fire rate mods aren't needed any little bit whatsoever. Now if you don't want to use split flights and you don't want to use a bane mod because you're lazy, which I can be a lot of the time as well, then you could go something along the lines of this, where you're going with galvanized chamber and you go with more multi-shot from vigilante armaments as well. It's not going to be anywhere near as effective, but it's still going to work. The gas clouds do tick for quite a lot of damage once you keep landing those headshots. Also, you don't need to use longbow sharp shot if you don't want to. You can use primary blight because the toxic clouds will give you that. It will give you more multi-shot from that, or you can use something along the lines of merciless as well. So again, entirely up to the user. But overall, it is an incredibly powerful, incredibly fun weapon more so than anything else. And when you put it onto a Warframe that's basically, I guess, a weapons platform, whether it's Ember, whether it's Rhino, whether it's any frame that has Eclipse or Roar, then it is going to leave lots of deadly fart clouds all over the place for enemies to walk into and basically die. So go ahead, let me know in the comment section below what you think of the Mutalist Cernos, or if there is any older weapons that you really enjoy running with kind of hidden gems, even though the Mutalist Cernos I think isn't much of a hidden gem. I think a lot of the guys that did endless survivals and endless missions will have used this weapon quite a bit, but that is quite a small chunk of the community. I think most players, the average player, will jump on and just stick to Incarnon weapons and some of the Coda, Kuva and so on. Like I said, let me know what your hidden gems are. Have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.